folks, this is Pastor Mike Hoggard coming to you from Studio 2013 with another Watchman video broadcast. We're looking at Daniel's fourth kingdom again. And what I want to do this week, we've looked at the symbolism of the number 4. We've looked at this idea of this kingdom and dominion. We made the transfer over to Ephesians chapter 6, where it talks about principalities. Let's count here. Principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, rulers of the darkness of this world. I'll say it right because I think that's important. And then spiritual wickedness in high places. And so I believe the Bible is showing you that these 4 things that you and I wrestle against are related to what we see in Daniel chapter 2 as far as the kingdom of gold, the kingdom of silver, and then of brass, and then of iron and clay. And then Daniel chapter 7, we also have Daniel chapter 8. We have the 4 horns that in the latter day of their kingdom, the Bible talks about another little horn comes up. And we see something very similar to that here in Daniel 7. What we started last week was this idea of looking at what principalities are according to the Scriptures. We look at the Scriptures, we examine it, then we look out in the world around us, and we see how principalities works in halls of government. We see how it works in churches. We see how it works in homes. We see how it works in ministries, or even a person's life. And so what I wanted to do, we looked at the idea of a prince being an angelic host of some kind, or an angel, or a fourth dimensional, fourth spatial area being is what we're looking at. And I want to go back to Daniel chapter 7 and look at these 4 beasts that come up. What grabs my attention here is that this third one has 4 heads and 4 wings of a fowl, and dominion was given to it. What I'm going to do is we're going to look at Daniel chapter 7, and we're going to look at the symbols given here to see how they relate to earthly principalities or earthly governments. Let's read the passage here. Daniel 7 verse 1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Remember what God said about dreams. They are doubled. In other words, God speaketh once, yea, twice in a dream and a vision. So while this may have had a primary imperfect fulfillment, it has a perfect future fulfillment in the last days. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel 7 verse 2. And Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. So we have the 4 winds here. We remember this number 4 always deals with spiritual entities. Verse 3, and 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. You could sort of imagine that these 4 beasts coming up from the sea are the opposite of the 4 cherubs holding the sea of glass and the throne of God coming down from heaven. So here we have God's kingdom with the 4 cherubs coming down, and his throne coming down to the earth. But here we have a different dominion, not coming from heaven. It's coming up from the sea. Remember, the sea is like a barrier between us, our world, and the 4th dimension, the heart of the earth. Heart has 4 chambers. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And verse 5, and behold another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. Verse 6, after this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. So we're looking at principalities, things that rule. Verse 7, after this I saw in the night visions, behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. It was diverse from all the beasts that was before it, and it had 10 horns. Now, if we were to stop right here and go look in, because this is what we do, we compare Scripture with Scripture instead of reading some guy's commentary like Tim LaHaye or something like that. The 10 horns represent the 10 bloody blahs. I don't know where he gets that stuff from. But anyway, here we have in Revelation 13, and I don't really know off the top of my head what Tim LaHaye says about the 10 horns. I just used him for analogy. Revelation 13, I stood upon the sand of the sea. Here we have the sea again. Saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And 10 is a number for dominion. Remember, we looked at this idea of, let me do my Bible like this here. We looked at the idea of the 10 commandments, the law having dominion over the flesh of a man as long as this flesh lives. And so what we're seeing here with these 10 horns, they represent the curse of the Old Testament law that is on people because they don't keep the law. Not even the good guys, because everybody, James said, if a man offends the law on one point, he is guilty of all. In other words, you didn't just break one little teeny bit of these laws. God always says you broke the law, and there has to be a judgment upon the earth. And so this is what's happening. This is why it has 10 horns. Dominion is going to be given by way of these 10 horns. Remember what horns represent. They represent coercive authority. Horns are used to push, 2 rams beating one another, 2 deer, 2 buck deer. Okay, hopefully we'll get to see this as November approaches and the rut season in the state of Missouri. You're going to see these 2 bucks locking horns. One buck is saying, "That's my doe," and the other one's going, "Can I have her?" "No," and they butt heads. Okay, that's what the horns represent. Represents forceful dominion. So we had the 4th beast, dreadful, terrible, and he had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots, and behold, in his horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. If you look in Revelation 13, you see that this one of the horns has a mouth. There was given to him a mouth speaking great things. Same words. You know what? I really like the King James Bible. I do. Yeah. They tell you, oh, you got to spread 20 different translations. We got some kind of circular from the American Bible Society saying, for your church, we offer over 20 different translations. They think that's really something. I just go, why don't we just stick with one Bible? Because this mouth speaks great things, and this mouth speaks great things, and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months. So, let's go back, Daniel chapter 7. I want to look at the symbolism of the lion with eagle's wings, because some scholars have said, the lion with eagle wings, of course, the lion is Great Britain, and the eagle wings is America, because the American eagle, and the wings are, and on and on and on. Okay? I kind of see where they're coming from, and here's where I'm going to show you. Nations throughout history have adopted symbols of their nation. Usually those symbols are manifested on flags, or let's say someone like a duke or a prince or a king or a queen uses, it almost sounds like I'm calling dogs. Okay, here Duke, here Queenie, here Prince. Okay. Anyway, these monarchs from Europe and from other places like China and so on their heraldry, they usually put emblems of certain animals on there. A lion is one of them, eagles, unicorns. Why? Because it has a horn, because the strength of unicorns. So anyway, here's the thought I had. What if these emblems that nations use show the prince that is over that nation? What if that? What if that, and I see this from the Bible, and this is what we're dealing with, the idea of principalities. We saw in the book of Daniel, the prince of Persia, the prince of Grecia, the prince of Israel, which is Michael. Then we have the prince of peace, which is Jesus Christ. What if in these nation symbols or all this heraldry, these animal tokens that they use represent the type of principality or the spirit that rules over them? Let me show you what I mean. Daniel 7 verse 4, the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given it. Now I want you to look at these emblems. This is sort of what I was talking about. The emblem of a griffin. Let me just stop right here. The scholars would look at this and say a griffin is a mythological creature that, people drew up in their minds. What if it really wasn't mythological? What if a spirit exists, just like we see with these cherubs in Ezekiel 1 and Revelation 4? They have weird looks, and it's usually a combination of different creatures, like a man, you have a lion, you have an ox, you have an eagle. You have different ideas and different embodiments in this spirit. So what if this symbol of a griffin is not just some fanciful, whimsical thing that some guy drew and said, yeah, we'll make this this is who we are? What if it really is an entity, a spirit, a principality? You see here in the common standards, a griffin, which is a lion with eagle's wings. You see it on a shield here. Here you have actually it's a double-headed creature. It is a lion with eagle's wings, and it has an eagle's head. And there's all these symbols here. You have a lion with a cross. You have a double-headed eagle here, which is, okay, where are you? Here we go, Albert Pike. You have this here. Does this mean that this guy was a Mason? No, it doesn't mean that. What I think it means is, and what I see here in this emblem over Masonry, is that I believe that this actually represents a spirit, a principality, and one of the things that it has on here is a crown, and the number 33, and then it has 33 stars, which is 33% of 99 stars, or a third of the stars. Revelation chapter 12, the war in heaven, and a third of the stars here. That's what this represents. So I think that this represents a principality. You have here in this emblem the representation of lions and eagles and so on, and they represent the spirit that these rulers have been guided by. If the ruler of a particular nation, country, president, whatever, prime minister, if that man is not a born-again Christian, then Ephesians chapter 2 tells us that the God of this world rules through them, the spirit that now worketh in the children, not of obedience, but disobedience. So when you have people of disobedience, you have cruel authority over them. Look at what kings have done. Look at what earthly rulers have done. Look at what God said to Samuel when Samuel went to God saying, God, kill them. They are rejecting you and they want a king. God said, give them a king. Samuel's going, what you talking about? And God said, no, give them a king. I want you to tell them what manner of king they're going to get. He's going to take all their taxes. He's going to take their fields and their sons, and he's going to rule over them in cruel authority and not do anything. And by the way, if you count the number of kings over Israel, 42 of them, till the Babylonian captivity.